First at 9 this Saturday, the 10th of May 2025. Unfinished construction of a 6.4 billion rupee project at the Bandaranaike International Airport yet to be completed due to miscommunication between authorities. Committee on Public Enterprises reveals. Vessak Week. National Vessak Week begins today. State Vessak Festival in Nuwara inaugurated by the President. Immediate action. Prime Minister instructs authorities to conduct independent investigations regarding the tragic suicide of a 16-year-old girl in Kottahena. Police confirm reports of victim being sexually abused by a teacher.
Cinec Campus Open Day. May masa 3 වෙනි දින උදෑසන 9 සිට Cinec Campus පරිශ්‍රයේදී.
From Derana, this is Derana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to Derana First at 9, Sri Lanka's most trusted news source. I'm Tatyara Naika, joining you live with the latest in Sri Lanka and around the world. We begin with your top story. It was revealed before the Committee on Public Enterprises that the new apron area at the Bandaranaike International Airport, which commenced construction in 2022 at a cost of 6.4 billion rupees, has not begun operations yet, as its construction is yet to be completed due to miscommunication between authorities. Issues in the construction process were also highlighted when officials of the airport and aviation services appeared before the parliamentary committee yesterday.
An apron has been constructed at the Katunayake Airport at a cost of 6.4 billion rupees. It has been handed over to you since January 2022. However, it is still not operational. Considering operational concerns, the Japanese consultants have given us a low-cost solution which they will explain.
Initially, you have prepared a plan indicating the places where the fuel hydrant pit should be.
We indicate the drawing the location, however, final location decided by CPC.
Addition of the place should be done by the consultant.
The people representative from CPC stated that landing gear aircraft must not run over hydrant pit. But according to the international standard, there is no such restriction. There is a kind of misunderstanding. That's why we can resolve this issue.
Tell me definitely, do you not carry any responsibility regarding the matter at all? What do you mean by coordination? What do you do? Do you convey messages? You do not need such a position to do that.
තවත් ඇත්තටම වෙලා තිබුණේ මේ අවුරුදු දෙක තුනක් යනකම් මේක අඳුරගෙන තිබිලා තියෙනවා. හැමදාම සාකච්ඡා කරනවා අරගොල්ලෝ එග්‍රී නොවි ඔහොම ඇවිල්ලා ඔබතුමාලත් ඇවිල්ලා මේ ගිය අප්‍රේල් 17 වෙනි තමයි හරියටම මේක දිහා බලලා තිබුණේ. මම ආපු වුණත් මේගොල්ලෝ මට කිව්වේ බොහොම අඩුවේ. ඒකට
තාමත් කියන්නේ අඩුවෙන් හොඳේ. ඩිසයින් ෆේලි එකක් තියෙනවා. ඇත්තටම ඕක නවත්තන්න පුළුවන් ප්ලේන් වලට ඩ්‍රෝවින් එක ඇඳලා ඒකට මේක සූදානම් කරගන්න.
චන්දුරුසුමේ කාගෙත් මන අපේ සිග TV සඳහා සුපිරි ඩීල්.
Now, Prime Minister Dr. Haran Yamarasuriya today instructed authorities to conduct independent investigations regarding the tragic suicide of a 16-year-old girl in Kottahena and enforce the law against the real culprits. In the meantime, police confirmed that information has been revealed that the victim was sexually abused by a teacher at her former school.
A 16-year-old schoolgirl took her own life at her residence in Galpotta, Kottahena on April 29th. Following the victim's demise, her parents spoke to the media alleging that her death is linked to the sexual abuse she faced at the hands of a teacher at her former school in Bambalapitiya and the public humiliation she faced at a private tuition institute over the incident. A few days later, several social activists staged protests near the victim's residence, her former school and the private tuition institute, demanding justice for the victim's death. After the Ministry of Education announced that the accused teacher will be transferred to a school in Puttalam, several parents held a protest in front of the relevant school against the decision. Afterwards, the ministry stated that a decision was taken to place the teacher on mandatory leave. In the meantime, the owner of the private tuition institute, who was accused in connection with the suicide of the 16-year-old victim, lodged a complaint at the Criminal Investigation Department yesterday. In a statement, police confirmed that information had been revealed that the victim was sexually abused by a teacher at her former school in Bambalapitiya, and the teacher in question has been released on bail. The statement further read that a travel ban has been imposed on the accused teacher and that the legal matter regarding the incident has been scheduled to be recalled on May 19th. Investigating officers revealed that despite the victim's former school being directed on multiple occasions to probe the incident, the school had failed to conduct a proper investigation and had acted in a manner that favours the teacher in question. Meanwhile, the parents of the victim engaged in discussions with Prime Minister Dr. Harini Amarasuriya today. A group of officials also joined the discussion, including Minister of Health and Mass Media Dr. Nalinda Jayatissa, Minister of Women and Child Affairs Saroja Paul Raj, Minister of Public Security and Parliamentary Affairs Ananda Vijaypala, and the Deputy Inspector General of Police in charge of the Child and Women Abuse Prevention and Investigation Bureau, Renuka Jayasundara. During the discussion, the Premier instructed officials to conduct independent investigations and enforce the law against the real culprits. A 3-member committee chaired by consultant paediatrician Dr. Ashwini Fernando was appointed by the Prime Minister to monitor and take necessary steps to formalise the coordination of state institutions that are supposed to intervene in cases of child abuse.
Sri Lanka Air Force and Navy personnel commenced collaborative efforts to recover the SLAF Bell 212 helicopter which crash-landed into the Maduru Oil Reservoir last morning. Although the 9-member investigative team appointed to probe the accident has launched investigations, the reason behind the unfortunate crash, which claimed the lives of 6 Special Forces and Air Force personnel, is yet to be ascertained.
The Sri Lanka Air Force Bell 212 helicopter crash-landed into the Maduru Oil Reservoir at around 8:12 a.m. last morning, with 12 personnel on board. The SLAF carrier was tasked with transporting soldiers for a demonstration at the passing out parade of the Special Forces at the Army Training School, Maduru Oil. Sri Lanka Air Force and Army personnel took immediate measures to rescue all 12 persons, and they were subsequently taken to hospital for treatment. Unfortunately, 4 Special Forces personnel and 2 Air Force helicopter gunmen succumbed to their injuries while receiving treatment. The remains of the deceased personnel were handed over to their respective families at the District General Hospital Polonnaruwa following post-mortem examinations this morning. The other 6 injured personnel are currently receiving treatment at the District General Hospital Polonnaruwa. Commander of the Sri Lanka Army, Lieutenant General Lasantha Rodrigo, paid a visit to the injured personnel last evening. Meanwhile, the Sri Lanka Air Force and Navy collaboratively commenced operations to recover the helicopter out of the reservoir this morning. The Department of Coast Conservation and Coast Resource Management also commenced efforts to control the spread of fuel which had leaked out of the helicopter. In the meantime, the 9-member Special Investigative Committee appointed by the Commander of Sri Lanka Air Force Air Marshal Bandhu Edirisinghe to probe the accident engaged in inspections of the crash site last evening as well as this morning.
Sri Lanka marks the beginning of the National Vessak Week, with this year's theme being Let's Associate Noble People with Good Qualities. Meanwhile, President Anura Dissanayake officially inaugurated the State Vessak Festival in Nuwara today.
Vessak, traditionally observed by Buddhists across the world, marks the birth, the enlightenment and the passing away of Lord Buddha. Sri Lanka marks the beginning of the National Vessak Week today, during which a range of religious and cultural programs will be held. Themed Let's Associate with Noble Friends with Good Qualities, this year's State Vessak Festival will be held in the Nuwara district. The official inauguration ceremony kicked off today at the Nuwara Buddhist Centre under the patronage of President Anura Dissanayake. During the event, which also saw the attendance of Minister of Buddha Sasana, Religious and Cultural Affairs, Dr. Hiniduma Sunil Senavi, a sum of 10 million rupees were awarded to 16 selected remote temples in the Nuwara district by the Ministry of Buddha Sasana, Religious and Cultural Affairs. As the week-long observances continue, the government announced that meat shops, slaughterhouses, liquor stores, casinos, nightclubs and betting centres across the island will remain closed on the 12th, 13th and the 14th of this month. Meanwhile, in view of the sacred observances, Vessak pantheons are currently being set up across the country, including the commercial capital Columbbo. Additionally, around 200 dansal have been organised within the jurisdiction of the Columbbo municipal alone. Accordingly, a special workshop for dansal organisers on maintaining proper hygiene was held yesterday at the Medical Officer of Health Office in Battaramulla. In the meantime, TV Derana is all geared up to host the largest dansal in Sri Lanka at the Independence Square in Colombo 7 in view of the Vessak Poya Day. Together with the Professional Chefs Association Sri Lanka and the Columbbo Municipal Council, TV Derana will once again hold the 24-hour-long dansal, which will commence at 7 p.m. on the 12th this month and will continue until 7 p.m. on the following day.
With that, here's a look at the latest political developments regarding the outcome of the recent local government election.
We don't believe there has been an election where the government lost around 2 million votes in such a short period of time. If all opposition parties unite, we can take control of local government institutions. In such a situation, we have agreed to support parties that aim to establish power.
කොළඹ නගර සභාව සීමාව තුළ ඉන්න ජනතාවගෙන් බහුතරයක්
The majority of people living within the jurisdiction of the Columbbo Municipal Council have rejected the incumbent government and refused to vote for them. An appropriate decision regarding this will be made soon. However, we must emphasize that if there is an opportunity to support a suitable candidate for the position of mayor in the commercial capital, we will make a suitable decision as a party.
ඒ සම්බන්ධයෙන් පක්ෂයක් හැටියට අපි සාකච්ඡා කළා සුදුසු තීරණයක් ගන්න.
The SLPP's votes did increase by a certain amount. However, if anyone believes those votes were cast out of admiration, that is false. The public's aversion against them remains just as strong as before. If one views this result objectively, it is clear that we should neither celebrate the government's decline nor the opposition's rise. Overall, the core message to be taken from the election results is the drop in voter turnout.
එක එක දේශපාලන පක්ෂවලට කණ්ඩායම් එක්ක අපි ඒකාබද්ධ වෙලා කටයුතු කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ නැති වුණත් ඒ සභාවන් ඉදිරියට පවත්වාගෙන යද්දී කොයි ආකාරයෙන්ද කටයුතු කරන්න කියන එක පිළිබඳව ශ්‍රී ලංකා පොදු ජන පෙරමුණේ දේශපාලන මණ්ඩලය ඉදිරියේදී සාකච්ඡා කරලා අපි පත් කරන සියලුම මහජන නියෝජිතයන්ට දැනුවත් කරන්න කටයුතු කරනවා කොයි ආකාරයෙන්ද ඒ ප්‍රාදේශ සභාවේ අපේ മന്ത്രി කණ්ඩායම් කටයුතු කළ යුත්තේ කියන කාරණය පිළිබඳව අපි පැහැදිලිවම කියන ආණ්ඩුවට
We want to clearly tell the government that their 43% vote base could decrease to its former state if they try to make deals in local government institutions where they lack a majority. We urge them to respect democracy. The public in those areas did not grant the ruling party a majority because they want the opposition to take power.
Now, leader of the Sarvajana Balaya parliamentarian Dilip Jayavira says that Sri Lanka cannot be developed through the traditional outdated political culture which continued to dominate the country over the past few decades. Speaking at an event in Medigama today, Jayavira demanded a new, bold approach to develop the country.
A ceremony in recognition of entrepreneurship in the apparel industry was held in Medigama Gampaha this afternoon under the patronage of the leader of the Sarvajana Balaya, MP Dilip Jayavira.
For almost 25 years, I chose not to participate in politics publicly. However, during that time, I consistently advised political leaders to think innovatively for the betterment of the country. Despite these efforts, these same outdated approaches continue to dominate. That was when it struck me that these leaders were incapable of transforming the country for the better. True change demands a new, bold approach to development. Collecting taxes from the public only to redistribute these same funds through programs like Aswasuma and then reclaiming them as taxes once again is neither a sustainable nor an effective solution. This practice does nothing to lift people out of poverty. What we truly need is to create wealth for the people. Since the respective officials often turned a blind eye to this matter, I established an initiative named Aramuna. Through this initiative, I was able to hold seminars to address a number of talented women across the island. Most of these women who participated in these seminars recognized their strength and initiated small-scale businesses. As you are all aware, this is the only option we have. This is the concept of Sarvajana councils. We will ensure that this concept will reach every household and every village.
Dr. Shafi Shihabdins, who was exonerated of charges of conducting illegal sterilization surgeries, launched his book, Dr. Shafi's Struggle Against Injustice, yesterday in Colombo. Speaking at the book launch, he urged Sri Lankans of all ethnicities to foster racial harmony among the future generation.
The book, Dr. Shafi's Struggle Against Injustice, authored by Dr. Shafi Shihabdins, who was exonerated of allegations of performing illegal sterilization procedures, was officially launched yesterday at a ceremony held in Columbbo.
This book celebrates Justice Prevailed. What we have released today is the book of Dr. Shafi's Note on Justice. As Sri Lankans, we have been taught to live harmoniously among all races. We are taught that it is only when we unite as one that our country could progress in future. That harmony of togetherness should be passed on to the future generations. Let us unite with our fellow Sinhalese people and people of all ethnicities living in this country and prepare our next generation to take this country forward. This integration should be carried out together with other religions.
සිනෙක් කැම්පස් ඕපන් ඩේ මැයි මස 3 වැනි දින උදෑසන 9 සිට සිනෙක් කැම්පස් පරිශ්‍රයේදී.
Two fires broke out in Colombo this afternoon, one in Vauxhall Street and another in Armour Street. No casualties have been reported so far.
A fire broke out in a building situated at Vauxhall Street, Columbbo 2 at around 3 p.m. today. 14 fire trucks of the Columbbo Fire Service Department were deployed to the scene. However, operations of fire and rescue officials were hindered owing to clouds of black smoke. Several fire and rescue officials were hospitalized due to smoke inhalation. The cause of the fire is yet to be ascertained. In the meantime, another fire broke out at a metal storage facility on Armour Street, Columbbo this afternoon. Several stores in close proximity to the fire, which broke out near the BCC bridge, were also set ablaze. The Fire Service Department deployed 3 fire trucks to the site and was able to control the fire. Traffic was disrupted while police took measures to limit traffic to a single lane in the area.
Now, former Health Minister Rambukwala, who is under remand custody at the Colombo Remand Prison, has been found in possession of contraband in his cell. With that, here's a look at more local news across the island in brief.
Former Health Minister Rambukwala, who is being held under custody at the Columbbo Remand Prison over his alleged involvement in the importation of substandard drugs, has been found in possession of contraband. Police have discovered several prohibited items including an elephant pearl, a bronze Buddha statue and pieces of bark of a Bodhi tree which he claims are from the Sri Mahabodhi. Rambukwala has claimed that the items were given to him by his father and that he had brought them into the prison for protection. In other local news, police have launched an investigation to arrest Hayashika Fernando, a popular tutor offering private tuition for the Grade 5 scholarship examination, for allegedly assaulting one of her employees. It is reported that the suspect had kicked the young man's testicles, after which he was admitted to the Columbbo hospital for treatment. Following the incident, Hayashika Fernando had fled the area, but her husband and manager have been taken into custody by the Katana police. After being produced before the Columbbo Magistrates Court, the 2 suspects were ordered to be remanded until the 14th of May. Meanwhile, it is reported that notorious underworld operator Nadun Chintaka alias Harakkata, who is detained in the old Tangol prison, has allegedly threatened a sub-inspector of police. The incident had reportedly occurred when Harakkata was told to return to his cell following his hour of exercise. A complaint has been lodged with the Tangol police regarding the incident.
Fitch Ratings says the Asia-Pacific region's high trade exposure to U.S. demand makes it susceptible to risks from U.S. tariffs. Fitch is of the view that government's policy responses to the trade war will be key towards its impact on APAC sovereign ratings.
Fitch Rating says the Asia-Pacific's high trade openness and exposure to US demand leave the region particularly exposed to US tariff risks. The US is a major export market for China, Vietnam, Taiwan, Thailand and Korea, with manufacturing, exports and investments an important driver of their economic growth. Fitch is of the view that government's policy responses to the trade war will be key towards its impact on APAC sovereign ratings. Governments may opt to shore up economic growth with fiscal stimulus, which could significantly alter the outlook for public finance metrics over the medium term and sovereign credit profiles more broadly. Fitch said that although the trade war creates uncertainty, the APAC sovereign outlooks are stable following the downgrade of China's rating to A stable on the 3rd of April from A+ negative. The downgrade reflects Fitch's expectation of a continued deterioration in China's public finance profile. However, Fitch is of the view that sustained financial stimulus would support China's growth amid subdued domestic demand, rising tariffs and deflationary pressures. Meanwhile, the April 15th upgrade of Pakistan's rating to B- stable from CCC+ reflects Fitch's increased confidence that Pakistan will sustain its recent progress on narrowing budget deficits and implementing structural reforms, supporting its IMF program performance and funding.
The Sri Lanka-Korea Business Council of the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce recently hosted a discussion on Sri Lanka's export prospects. The dialogue served as a platform to explore ways to expand Sri Lanka's export footprint, with discussions focusing on aligning trade policy reforms, logistics development and institutional support to better integrate Sri Lanka into regional and global value chains.
The Sri Lanka-Korea Business Council of the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce recently hosted a discussion themed Sri Lanka's export prospects, challenges, opportunities, reforms. The event was graced by the South Korean ambassador to Sri Lanka, Myeon Lee, and representatives from prominent Korean organizations, including the Korea Trade Investment Promotion Agency, Korea International Cooperation Agency, Korea Business Association, Korean Residents Association, and Korea Exim Bank. Senior officials from the Board of Investment, Export Development Board and Sri Lanka Customs were also present, reinforcing the public-private dialogue aimed at advancing Sri Lanka's export agenda. Delivering the keynote address, Chief Executive Officer of the Shippers Academy, Rohan Masakorala, provided insights into the evolving global trade landscape, Sri Lanka's positioning in international markets, and the urgent reforms required to boost export competitiveness. He emphasized that reforms need to be accelerated as the export sector is finding it extremely challenging to sustain a growth trajectory for merchandise exports. Masakorala also expressed disappointment over policy decisions such as the removal of SVAT and the lack of focused support for exporters, as these factors would discourage any significant investment in the sector. The dialogue served as a platform to explore ways to expand Sri Lanka's footprint in global exports, especially in sectors with untapped potential. Discussions focused on aligning trade policy reforms, logistics development and institutional support to better integrate Sri Lanka into regional and global value chains.
That's all the news we have for you today. Thank you. Have a great night.